Okay, so we're talking about, in this new unit, it's talking about volume. When you did volume in 7th grade, you talked about volume of prisms and pyramids, whereas in 8th grade, we focus on volumes of circular base shapes, okay? So let me break it down. The first one we can talk about is the volume of cylinders, okay? A cylinder is a three-dimensional shape, but it has two circles as its bases. And when you look at the star chart only gives you the volume of a prism or cylinder, which I don't know why they necessarily give you the prism part, because we don't find volume of prisms in 8th grade, but volume of cylinder. Now, the volume formula you are familiar with from last year, V, which stands for volume, B, which stands for base, and H, which stands for height. But this particular B is a capital B. So you have to know that it's not just a regular old base. It means the area of the base. Okay. Now, in this case, the base is a circle. So the area of a circle, which you should kind of be familiar with from last year in 7th grade, is area of a circle is pi r squared. So I'm going to combine these formulas into one. So the formula we're actually going to be using is V equals, and again, I'm just going to replace the capital B with pi r squared, because that's the area of the circle, and then times the height. So this is the formula that we're going to be using. And we are actually going to be using pi, not 3.14. R stands for the radius, okay? So we talked about this yesterday, but when we're talking about circles, the radius is the distance from halfway across the circle. If they give me the diameter, this is the kicker, if they give me the diameter, which means it's all the way across the circle, I have to cut that number in half first. So we'll see some examples here in a minute. And then H stands for the height. And all you're going to do with these three things is multiply. So let me show you. If I look at number one, first things first, what part of the circle did it give me? Well, it gave me the diameter. So before I can start or approach my question, I need to cut that diameter in half, and we're going to use 4 divided by 2, which means we're going to use 2 instead of 4, okay? So here's my formula. V equals pi r squared h. So we're just going to replace the numbers that we need for our formula. So V equals pi times the radius, which we now know is 2, and we're going to square it, and then times the height, which in this case is 3. And that's all you do. We're going to type this in our calculator. So pi times 2 squared times 3. Okay. And we're going to round to the hundredths place today. So that means 2 decimal places. Okay. So is it 69 or is it 70? And this would round to 70. So it's going to be 37.70. And if we're getting technical, the units would be units cubed, because we're talking about volume, which is 3-dimensional. Okay. Number 2, first things first, what part of the circle did it give me? It gave me the radius. How do I know that's the radius? It's because it's already halfway across the circle, so I don't need to cut it in half again. So I'm good. So we're just going to use the formula. V equals pi r squared h. V equals pi, the radius of course is 2, and we're going to square it, times the h, which this case is 7. And you just let the calculator do the magic. Pi times, and if you don't remember where pi is, it's second caret top, times 2 squared, don't forget to hit the right arrow, times 7. And again, we're going to go 2 decimal places, 96 or 97, in this case, 96. So 87.96, and then units cubed, okay? And it just gets pretty repetitive. Now, if you notice, number 1 and 2, the cylinders are standing. Well, does it change anything if I kick the thing over and lay it on its side? It doesn't. What part of the circle did it give me? It gave me the diameter. How do I know that's the diameter? Because the line goes all the way across the circle. So what do I have to do? Cut it in half. Half of 6 is 3. And then we just get in the habit of writing it. V equals pi times the radius, which is 3 squared, times the height, which is 10. And then you just put in your calculator, pi times 3 squared times the height. And again, I want you to get in the habit of writing it, because it really, honestly, I've seen some questions where they always just ask you how to set up the formula. So get in the habit of writing it so you're constantly seeing it. Is it 74 or 75? In this case would be 74. And then it would be units cubed. Good there. Gets pretty repetitive. So number 4, okay, again, it gave me the radius, so I don't need to cut it in half. So it's pi times 9 squared times 5. And we're going to go 2 decimal places, so it'd be 1272.35 units cubed. Good so far? Number 5, I'm going to cut it in half because this is the diameter. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. Notice it's only the diameter cut in half. Don't cut the cylinder in half, okay? So, or the height. Pi times 6 squared times 14. Pi times 6 squared times 14. And we get 1583.36 units cubed, okay? And again, just the same stuff. I'm not going to cut this one in half. So pi times 5 squared times 13. Okay. And it would round to 0, 2 units cubed. Okay, now for time's sake, because it is pretty repetitive, I'm not going to do the last 3, but I want to show you what it could look like on a Starlight question. So I'm going to skip to the back. Number 10 says number 10 is obviously different because it doesn't even give me a picture, so I have to read it. It says a water bottle is in the shape of a cylinder, so that's how I know what shape I'm dealing with. But this time it says the volume of the bottle is 946 cubic centimeters, so they actually give me what the V is. And then it says the height is 25 centimeters. Which measurement is closest to the radius? So when I see my formula, V equals pi r squared h, I'm not trying to find the volume because they give me the volume as 946. They don't give me the radius, okay? So the height would be 25. Now, truth be told, just because of the process we want to do, we just have to trial and error. We have to figure out which one of these is the radius that would give me 946. So it's like me typing this in 4 times. So let me show you. Pi times, let's try 12.04 squared, times of 25. Does that give me 946? No, way too large. So it's not A. I know B wouldn't work because 60 is way larger, so my answer would be even larger. If I try C, because I can automatically eliminate D, but let's try C. Pi times 3.47 squared times 25. And notice that it's not exact, but it gave me roughly 946. So that's my answer for C. Okay, now then we're going to talk about another way they could make me write my answer, something called in terms of pi. So it's the same math, okay? They want me to find the volume of the cylinder. First, I have to cut the diameter in half, so I'm going to do 3 instead of 6. It would be pi times 3 squared times 9, okay? Oh, sorry, the part I messed up. So because it says in terms of pi, that means in my calculator, I don't actually use the pi. I'm just going to bring it down. So the only part I have to type in my calculator is 3 squared times 9, which is 81. And that's all it means in terms of pi. It's like you don't really include pi in your answer. So 81 pi is C, and that's just another way they could ask me to write my answer.